G'day, doggies fans, all things Bulldogs. It's the review of our round 2 match versus the Titans. I'll wait for a few people to join. We'll move around a bit there. How we going? Right now, Serrato, I think, is just doing his live as well. So I might play that during this, if for those who haven't watched it. G'day to those who are coming on. But as usual, this will get watched like tomorrow and whatever else. So we'll get started. Welcome to the one person that's on at the moment. How you going? I'm bloody good, I can tell you that much. Welcome to everyone. It's another good day. The Bulldogs winning by 40 points to 24 in a game where we led 22-0 after about 24 minutes. And then from that point, it was a little bit stressful at times, but this Bulldogs side has a lot going for it. Still some stuff I'm worried about. G'day, Shannon. Welcome, my friend. I'm going to give you all my thoughts on the game, and we'll go through the stats as well. We'll also look at what could happen out of this game with potential players on report. And also, two players in Matty Burton and Vulnerabilities Kikau, very important defensively, especially, not to mention what they do in attack. Both having MCLs, and they're going to be out for 4 or 5 or maybe 6 weeks each. G'day, Timmy. Welcome, my friend. So we're going to talk about our great victory, 40 to 24. It's never easy at Belmore for some reason. We had a 30-0 win against the Titans last year in round 3. We had a shutout, which was fantastic. Our first win of the season after losing 2 games where we were starved of possession. This year, after the game against the Dragons, which I felt we were a 16-point better side in that match, the fact they got close just shows that we've got a few weaknesses we need to work on. There's a couple of lapses in concentration in round 1, and today there was there again as well, I felt. But in that heat, they were playing at 35, 36 degrees. G'day, Gratitude. Go the doggies. Playing in that heat. G'day, Mister. It's me. The ref was crap. Yeah, I felt the refereeing was very poor at times. But in saying that, we've got to take the ref out of the equation. We know that. And I'll be doing a thing on Paul Crawley, because the fact that he talked about that the Bulldogs are a big club, have that big club bias now, is absolute bullshit. Absolute rubbish. And it was proven again yet that it's rubbish today. Even I'm like, I suppose the Titans have big club bias, do they, with some of the calls they got? But looking at this game from the very start, Marcelo Montoya with that big hit could be in trouble. They say there's no wrapping action. I think that's a little bit. Sometimes they tell you stuff and you're not seeing it. Like when they set the Reed Marnie. If I'm Reed Marnie, I'm just not going near a player, not even touching a player if he's kicking the ball. You know what I mean? He's going to get done for it. But he barely laid a finger on him. He didn't touch his legs. What a load of shit. And then he got put on report for it. Like, he's just a headline in himself. But, Reed did some fantastic stuff with his kicking game today. Very important in that heat. Very well placed. Wasn't Grant Atkins. It was, what's his name? He's a weird little fucking fella. They're all crap. It doesn't matter who they are. They all try to manage perception rather than just refereeing the game, and it's just ridiculous. But let's talk about the Bulldogs. We'll look at the stats in a second, and overall, I felt obviously losing Matt Burton was a bit of an issue. I felt Toby, although a couple of kicks went a bit long. One of the ones for Keanu Kinney, I felt like they just called that a caught in the in goal, and it looked like he jumped out. and then touched the ground on the out of before getting it. To me, it didn't look like he caught the ball from the in goal. Very close thing. The Toby, ridiculous. I felt like, okay, 40-20, but they say that he didn't get it. Yeah, just the heat. And Scan can't welcome my friend. 31 degrees down here as we speak. It was crazy. Yeah, so look, that heat does things, and people need to take that into account. The Dogs put a lot of effort into the way they play the game. I said on the podcast during the week in the preview that there was a big chance that many people might not like it, but it probably might happen, that Curran would start, Harry Hayes would come in, and Daniel Saluka Fafita would actually wouldn't play in the side. And that's exactly what happened. And with the heat that was there, it was probably good. They need to get some miles in Curran's legs. They did. I felt he's a little bit pedestrian to start the game, but he worked into it. And, our first try, I've never seen a slower play the ball before. We just repeated the same movement we did last week to score the first try with Montoya. Montoya left one-on-one with a player, just too powerful. And he did it 2 weeks in a row. So well done to him. And one of his best games in a Bulldogs jersey, it must be said, and didn't have any errors, which was fantastic for him. Yeah, the humidity makes it feel hotter. And when you're in that suburban ground, the breeze is, although it's always gets a bit breezy up high in Belmore, I'm pretty sure on ground level they would have been having the heat zapped from them completely. So we put so much effort into our defensive efforts, and they talk about small ball, but the Titans probably only 3 or 4 times through the match were able to generate any speed from what they were doing. They probably had 2 or 3 sets where they were making good meters and getting over our 50-meter line. Having 7 tackle sets definitely help them as well. So that's something we're going to watch. But apart from those 2 kicks, I felt that Toby Sexton had a really strong game as far as a halfback's concerned. And when Burton went off, he sort of took over. Whoever played in the 5'8" role, I think Critter did the first half, which got some criticism. But listening to what Serrato was saying, Critter has been training at 5'8" all off season at different times as part of contingency, and they've got a bunch of ex-centres that are now playing in the forwards. That they probably thought that they could manage that situation. Being the time of the game and it was, and the heat, definitely didn't help. But that second try that the Titans scored, we only got Wilson sort of gave up the ball. They played it. He hadn't got back to his edge, and we only had 2 players in the line. Like Tupanua, Preston was left on the wing. So, you can't really call that a judgment issue, but they nearly scored a couple of tries, and there was some really, Wilson held on for grim life against Pereira, which saved a try after Pereira got that first try. They nearly got a second one straight away, which would have been a really good try. It was nothing really to do with the defense. Just using that speed. And what we need to look at here is we've played 2 sides which I think have probably got the worst halves pairings in the comp. Now, as footballers, Lachlan Ilias and Kyle Flanagan can do all that sort of stuff, but they just don't have that speed to really threaten with a running game. Now, in saying that, Brimson and young Campbell have running game in spades, and they did cause us some problems a few times, but we negated that pretty well with the way we managed the defense. And their long kicking game wasn't too bad, but obviously, kicking from deep, because we're managing that part of the game, they were struggling. They asked some questions with some bombs. We were pretty good under the high ball today at home at Belmore, which was great for the fans. And, but what I'm saying is if we come up against a side that's got some pretty good halves, we're in trouble if we don't improve defensively on those edges. But it's only 2 rounds, and we're starting the season with 4 points, which is bloody fantastic. Shannon says, I don't want any more hate for Salmon. I thought he did a great job. It's really good to see that both Montoya and Salmon have had excellent games in the first 2 rounds, and that puts the doubters to sleep a little bit, which is fantastic. And, Drew Hutchison's likely to come in next week. And if they don't play Critter, which also could be, he might start at 5'8" and then move if they struggle defensively. But they might be thinking, Parramatta, we'll put Critter at 5'8", get him another game there as a backup for Birdo. He can kick the footy, kick it pretty deep. He can do pretty much anything, Critter. But I didn't like his game at 5'8". It's for Samoa. I just think he needs time and reps if he's going to sort of play that position at all. But they might do that against Para next week. When Toby was asked, Critter was the first one he mentioned, and Serraldo spoke about it as well. But I'm not sure if they'll go with it, because he had to change it back because we just needed that better balance across the side, and they brought a faster player in on that left edge in Bailey Hayward. And he made a couple of important tackles as well. He made a really important tackle around the legs, which we would have been in trouble. I reckon it would have been a try if he didn't make that tackle. So there was some, we win that game by 16 points, but there was some efforts there against that very fast side with a big pack playing off the cuff, because they have to a little bit, because they don't have that structure in their halves with natural halfbacks in their side. So, and they were dangerous, and we saved a couple of tries, which ensured we would go on and win that match, which was very, very important. But the game was set up and won by the way that we defend early, and that is the actual sign of the better teams in the comp at the moment. I don't have us top 3 at the moment from what I've seen. I definitely have us top 8. But what defines us in some of the other games and other teams that I've watched is that the defensive aggression of our side is harder and stronger for much longer periods than other teams in the competition. And the only other teams, you're going to get that from Penrith for most games, but even they struggle with that on the weekend, which is a bad sign for them, but something that they can struggle from early. I felt the Warriors' defense in front of their home crowd, the way they were hitting at the 39th minute and 78th minute in that match was very, you can sort of put that down. I think their 2 front rowers, that's very much their mentality in Fisher Harris and Barnett. And that's where I can align the Bulldogs. And the Raiders, to me, the way they defended with the aggression in the defense is always an indicator. But we have some weaknesses out wide from the efforts that we put in. So when we get under fatigue, we made some silly errors tonight, some push passes which didn't need to happen. Obviously, a bit of fatigue and not getting back into the line. That happened again. With that second try to the Titans, we were just slow. But hey, round 2, and we've scored 68 points, conceded 44. That's not too bad, that's not too bad at all. So good start to the season for the Bulldogs. We've got 2 wins. I felt we were much more dominant for longer parts of the match against the 2 teams that we played. What concerns me is we've given up 44 points. That it's that we shouldn't be really giving up. Let's check out some comments. Mr. It's Me, defensively, we're exposing ourselves at times, rushing through on the fullback, and they spread the ball on the other side of the field as asleep. Yeah, that happened a couple of times. And look, when we get the ball where we want and have Burton there, they generally don't have time. And late in the day, against a side that's very fast, the heat was there. They definitely exposed us a couple of times, and I thought that would happen. If we weren't on today, that was going to happen a few more times. But losing the players we lost did cause us a little bit of issue, which probably hand them at least 6 points and maybe more. And then I felt we were just a little bit impatient, which we need to watch as well, and some penalties, which, in my opinion, were very debatable, that went against us and sort of kept them in the game a couple of times. G'day, Paulie. Good win. I reckon Cassius Tia. Haven't been watching Cup, though. I just reckon Tia defensively. Look, he can handle the contact, Paulie, but he's not. I don't believe he's ready to be in that system to make the genuine, the efforts. But the thing is, at some point, you got to bring these guys in. If I'm bringing in Cassius Tia or Joey O'Neill into the 6, I've no problem with them, with our club blooding these young fellas, but I'd rather have Viliami Kikau standing out next to him on the edge. Because the middle of with small ball, we can just cover the holes a little bit better, and he can play a bit of a roving protector, as can the small lock. But without Viliami Kikau there, I'd feel much safer with a Drew Hutchison out there in the 6. Much safer indeed, to be honest. And I'd love to see, just like we saw Jamin Salmon and Marcelo Montoya, who I believe have done really well in the first 2 weeks of the competition. Or Montoya dropped one ball last week and it cost us points in the end. But from that, he's been really, really strong. The trial was tough for him, but since then, the first 2 rounds, he's done himself proud and done the club proud. And you've got a winger who's been playing first grade for the last 3 years. So it's a good signing. It's a very smart. You sign first graders. And a testament to that is you watch this Raiders side and, you match teams up on paper and you go Sebastian Chris and you go, oh, he's pretty average at times. Well, the last 2 weeks he's been one of their best players, and that's because they keep picking him and trusting him and backing him. They've kept picking. That we all know that Tomoko is a beast, and he just gets better and better. And they got a young winger who comes in confident because he's around a team which has got great cohesion, and they turn up defensively and they're tough to beat. And they got a bunch of young kids coming through, which will rival the Dogs in junior strength. Now, I expect them to be a team we've got to beat if we're going to play, make prelims and win prelims and all that sort of stuff in the coming years. So that's getting ahead of myself, but you got to put players in at some point, but it's how you bring them in and who you bring them in with. When you throw them all out there together when they're too young, you're gonna concede points. So look, I think. Now, Montoya could be suspended as well, so we've got to look at that side that's coming out. There's a good chance that Marcelo Montoya might be suspended, and if that's the case, I am hearing Jacob Carraz has a chance of playing next week, just quietly. And if he is playing, he may come in on the left wing, and they might try and keep that stability with Wilson on the right. Or they bring Carraz where he's done most of his playing on the right edge, but he has played some left as well. It's all going to come down to what's best for the team's defence. I'd probably feel better having Carraz and Critter on the right edge, bring a Drew Hutchison in on the left edge, and bring Preston over to the left, put Satili on the right. Because that's where they normally play, unless Satili's a left. I can't even bloody remember. I think he can play both sides. But whoever's going to fit best on that right or left edge for those 2 second rowers, that's where that'll go. And look, if Carraz isn't right, I think Luke Smith might make his debut in the centres, and they might put Bronson Cherry out to the wing, which is also another possibility. But either way, we're going to be weakened. Critter might play 6. And then you've got to make 2 changes to your outside back. So I don't think they really want to do that. I don't think they'll bring in Rini Karma. With the ball, I think he adds, coming out of yardage. He's good at that. He's got some bloody dynamic legs. He can jump high. He can finish. He's very, very good. Defensively is where I worry, and not having Burton and Kikau there, I just think it just makes us too weak defensively to be debuting someone like that. I think they might go for someone a bit more seasoned and tougher defensively in a Luke Smith, even though he's never played first grade before. He went all right in that trial against the Broncos. I felt he did good, and I felt he did pretty well in the Tigers trial. Lots of what ifs, but I do think they'll bring in Drew Hutchison. I really do. And if Carraz is fit, he'll come in. Hopefully Montoya gets away with it. We can keep some stability there. And, I don't really want to drop anyone out of the back line, to be honest. When we've lost a backline player, so you've got that as well. I felt Bailey Hayward did a pretty good job out there and man at different times. But Bailey, whoever they put in the six didn't really help Toby with any of the game management and no real linking. Toby had to sort of try and play both sides of the field. They did a pretty good job, to be honest. I felt Toby was one of his best games. Couple of errors with his kicks, but outside of that, I felt his running game was great. He asked questions all day. His little kicks were good. Lots to like about Toby Sexton, and wondering to see if they're going to sign this kid. Broncos blew past a nil on the trial for one of their tries. Yeah. Tino's a wanker chant come through good on the TV. I wonder if that's why Fox stuffed around with the sound in the second half. It probably bloody did, to be honest. And look, the Dogs will never forget what he did with Matt Burton, and podcasters like myself and others and Facebook groups had really pressed that issue hard since Sexton was at the Titans when we beat them 34-24 at Combank. And there was 11,000 Bulldogs there. Sounded like there was 34,000. And Tino's a wanker come through loud and clear. And then we played the Knights the following week at Newcastle and smashed Newcastle, saying the same thing about Gagai. So there you go. Satilli to start next week, maybe. G'day, James. I think Satilli definitely starts on one of those edges. No problem at all. I think they might have to bring, part of me goes, all right, DSF to start next side outside of King. Curran goes back to the bench with Mann, Hayward, and then Harry Hayes as the bench. And what I would do then is bring in Drew Hutchison. If Montoya's out, either Carraz, and then I don't know. Whatever they go with. But you don't want to change too many players on your edges because you become a liability. And look, some of the defence on the edges, especially the left edge today of the Eels, Penasini and Russell, like they've had plenty of games together. They played like they hadn't been playing together. Some of their defence was woeful. I don't know how motivated Dylan Brown is at the moment. With the ball, he seems pretty fired up, but without it, not so good. So they got some big troubles, the Eels, but they get us at a pretty good time with no Burton and no Kikau. So the other option is you've also got Blake Taff who can come in. And, Taff's more... I always worried about him defensively. But look, he's more seasoned every year. So there you go. And a big win by the New South Wales Cup side over the Bears in a high-scoring affair. I think 40-28. They scored a couple of late tries. 42-28, something like that. But let's look at the stats, shall we? Before we do, I'll get through these. Jack Todd comes in the equation, maybe Salmon the left edge. Salmon can play on an edge as well. Definitely. and they might start man and then bring another one of those kids in. That's also potential as well, but I think it's a bit early. Jack Underhill played 55 minutes, first half, and then 15 minutes in the second half today, I'm pretty sure as well. I think Daniel Saluk-Fifita played 27 minutes in the heat before being replaced. And Cassius Tia was playing in the lock role. He replaced Jack Todd for his first break. So, man, to start, could be a chance. If Burton didn't get injured, we would have really went on with it, I reckon. Yeah, I think we would have as well. I really do. What about Drew at 5'8" next week? Yeah, I think that's the likely play, to be honest. I just think he'll be trusted a lot more defensively. And he's got to defend against what's his face, bloody Volkman. Salmon Show, just why he gets selected today. G'day, David. Welcome to it, mate. And it's good to see some love for Jamin Salmon because I just want to see people back and support the coach. And that try he scored, like he will do that. See, and clubs forget about him. They're not watching him. And when they start to watch him, he throws the ball and he gives us outsiders more time. He just becomes another option. He's got a deceptive pass. He basically won us a game against the Dragons last year. And he got us off to that start with that second try, So well done to David Salmon. Oh, sorry, Jamin. Jacob Preston his machine. When he played centre, Wilson let him down by not trusting him and coming in to help when he didn't need help. Yeah, Wilson's had a few issues this year from in the trial matches and in there, but that's the problem, It's always hard. That's the hardest thing. And that's where most tries are scored, down edges, and they got a tough job, and I'm never too critical of them. Even though, as that happened, I'm like, that's disgraceful. I'm probably harsher than a lot of people when I'm watching the game by myself. But then you got to reflect and look at it and put it in context. You don't have to be a dickhead about it. But I like the way you presented that, Mr. It's Me. Paulie, that's why Critter needs to be a centre, is really linchpin in defence. Yeah, look, when he went to 5'8", I'm like, well, they've obviously got a contingency plan. That's what they work for. I felt the first try wasn't really because Critter wasn't there. Because I've seen him concede 2 or 3 tries already on Critter's side this year, right? Between him and Wilson, they've been conceding points. Similar tries to what Pereira got that first try. The second try, though, well, Preston was standing on the wing because Wilson was out of play and Salmon was also out of play. They couldn't get across. So I'm not too critical. But there were some other concerns down that edge, and the Titans kept going there. And I think the issue is, and this is the big thing, right? When Critter come out playing at right centre, the Titans lost confidence. They built confidence because he wasn't out there, so they targeted it, right? And it made them try other things in the match. And they essentially attacked our left side in that second half. So they went away from Critter. And they weren't as dangerous. Like under fatigue and the little fellas they've got, which are dynamic, helped them score a couple of tries in that second half. But it always makes it tough for us. But I really believe that it's such a mental game as well as a physical game, and Critter being moved to 5'8", I think they were like, oh, we can attack here, and it worked out for them. And then the coach was smart to move him because when he did, it took the confidence out of the Titans a little bit. They never, they were throwing a lot of offloads, trying to get things happening, and it's just not going to stick every time. They got a couple of tries, but they're not going to get 5 or 6. They're not the Broncos who can do that sometimes. And it comes down to if Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt were playing the halves for the Titans today, after Burton goes down, I think they go on and win the match. I really do. Because they've just got a way of finding the right players. But in saying that, that's all what if and speculation. G'day, Brahma. Les, haven't seen you for a while, mate. Welcome back. You're still worried about the Dogs' defence? Look, first 2 rounds last year, we conceded, I think, 58 points and only scored about, I don't know, 16 or something. But for me, it's more, if you got that hard work right, you've got that aggression right, and you're driving teams back and where they don't seem to have any answers, and you're playing with that emotion and physicality with and without the ball, that's what sets us apart. Yes, we've got some defensive issues we've got to work out, and I've already talked about them at length, and they're going to be exposed even more this week. Hopefully we can go out there and just play confident and, just have a plan, work through it this week, and go out there and smash the Eels and set us up for a game against the Sharks. But, yeah, this really makes things tough. We're going to probably drop a couple of games, and hopefully we don't. But if we can beat Para next week by whatever score, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, Parramatta. Just got to beat them. Go out against the Sharks, play with the same physicality, play a simple game, and hold the ball, we can beat any team. Not worried about the defence. Out of all tries scored on us for, I've come down Critter's edge when he isn't there. That is true. But he's also conceded a few when he is there. So tell you to replace Kikau and Hayward to 5'8" Lee's man and Salmon as a link number 13s. Very possible, my friend. G'day, Teddy. Guys, I do apologise. I couldn't watch or listen to the game due to work, but could you please tell me what happened to Berto, please? Thank you. Yeah, Teddy, he basically made a tackle, was sort of on his haunches, sort of stuck, and then as the players fallen on him, it sort of just stretched his medial ligament, and he's strained his medial, so he could be out for 4 or 5 and kick out the same sort of injury, to be honest. Leg on the ground after making a tackle and just popped the other way. With the weight of the Titans player coming down on him, both done in defence with the attacking players that are rolling over us. Just in the contact, it was just. I felt the ground looked a bit choppy, to be honest. There was a few players slipping over and stuff, so the ground didn't really help. We should not be conceding 40 points against 2 bad teams. Yeah, look, the difference between the worst and the best and the worst in this competition is just closer and closer all the time. And especially between the bottom, 15 sides. There's usually 2 or 3 standouts, and the rest are very, very, close. I think to get away with 2 wins and understand they've got a lot to work on is a good place to be in. And for me, that aggression is what sets us apart. The numbers in the tackles, but they've got to make sure they contain those offloads. Too many offloads against us really fucks up our defensive line and makes it hard for us to deal with those that middle roll on that big forwards can get. Just as it's not hot, seems to kill all momentum. G'day, Damo. Look, I want you to think about, Damo, the amount of times you've said, don't pick this player, don't pick that player. Like, I've watched 90% of the fan base tell Serraldo that he shouldn't be picking Salmon, and that Salmon must have, photos of Serraldo in the toilets or something, you know what I mean? Like, I've heard it all. it does sort of get to me a bit. We need to understand that they train and they have their contingency plans and they work out what they're going to do for what's best for the team and best for the club. And they know. Hutcho has had some magnificent games of rugby league in first grade as well, being a match winner. You know, he's got man of the match performances. I've never seen Kyle Flanagan get man of the match while at Canterbury or the Dragons, right? That whole time. I've seen Hutchison do that at the Roosters. So he has got football in him. He was an Australian schoolboy half. Now, he is not the fastest player, but neither is Jamin Salmon. And the effort that he puts into defence and covering as well. Like, it's not just him smashing the second rower that's trying to run over the top of him. It's the defensive work that he puts in, and he's all heart and he's all effort, and his teammates love him, right? But yes, there's definitely been some moments where I've like said, fucking hell, Drew, you know, like I've seen it, but you got to look at the context of it. Maybe I hope Drew can go out there and redeem himself for you, Damo, and make you a believer, because that's what we want. I'd feel a lot safer with someone who can go out there and share the kicking game, can make his tackles, which he does do, especially against big bodies and stuff, than put someone there that's not been there that often and weakens us in other areas. Now, if they put anyone that's in the side at the moment into 5'8", I think it does weaken us in other spots in our system. But I'll trust what they're doing. From what the coach is saying, their contingency plan for the halves has been critter, but it weakened us and just give confidence to the opposition when he wasn't standing in his centre spot. There's so much in the mental side of things where people believe, you know, that like the other centre believes, fuck, I've got to get past Stephen Crichton. And just that thought in their brain makes it hard for them because he's developed that aura about him. And when you've got aura, you're there for moments where other people, you might have been quiet the whole game, but you're there in that moment. And, you know, you can just come in and out of the game as you want. And when you do, you make your mark. You know, and when you do, everyone starts to get the yips. They start to worry. And that's what Stephen Crichton causes out there. Like he'll take a ball from barely a run-up and always push through. He barely gets pushed back ever. He's a bloody good player. And he doesn't have to do 180 metres. You know what I mean? Doesn't need to do that at the Bulldogs. And he got 3 from 3, so everyone will be saying, yes, Burton's no longer the kicker. Yay, it's critter. Well, it's all subjective, but I hope he gets them all, you know? I hope he gets them all. Yeah, I get your point on Drew. Don't mind either way, but we're playing Paris, so it's a good chance to debut someone. It is. It's just losing all those people on that left edge. It just really worries me, man. And if Montoya's gone as well, that's 3 out of your edge players missing. G'day, JD. They did so well. Can forgive the defence. It was almost 40 degrees out there today. 100%, brother, and welcome back. The only excuse that Burton and Kikau injury weakens the defence. It certainly does, my friend. Kraz might come in as a centre, Critter to 6. That can happen as well. But we will see. But we've got to see if Montoya is suspended or not. G'day, Jamie. Welcome, mate. Best team to see the changes go is against the Eels. I'd say that, but it's a rivalry game, and we know this. You know, we were playing, people thought we were going to run last again last year, and we played the Roosters. They all thought we were going to trample us, and we led them 26-0. You can't. And if the Fox plays, and they got that speed on the edge, they've got players who can exploit it. They've got players that can ask questions. For me, the Eels, their issue is they're very much down on confidence. Defensively, they're very fragile at the moment. Very, very fragile. They can go out there and get some confidence. Get a couple of tries. They could be tough to run down, tough to beat. They could be that side that's only going to win 3 games this year. You know what I mean? But they're going to win 3 games. And it could be against a side like us. It's just the way the comp is. I don't take anything for granted. I see it as a real crunch game for us, and one that we going to have to work our asses off. And I'd love for us just to have a nice, easy victory. But it'd be also a bit of a test before we go up against the Sharks to really get our reps going for the players that are going to be there for the next 5 or 6 weeks. To hopefully get some confidence and be ready for the Sharks and the Knights, which come up in back-to-back games after the Eels. So, Curran or Satilli to start in place? Tim, it could be Curran or Satilli, to be honest. Both are edge back rowers. They can choose one or the other. But I think Curran has established the fact Curran started prop today. He's going to stay in that type of role, whether it be off the bench or starting. And I think Satilli will go to that edge role 100%. Well, they might say, no, we'll keep Satilli in that road, the thing that he's been doing. We just throw Jamin out wide. He's played plenty of edge. He's played left edge and right edge in the second row. So, and Preston can play by both sides as well. Lots of options. Yeah, I think, I don't know about that, mate. I think what they mean is that the Sharks are considered to be a top potential front runner to be a minor premier. And the Parramatta side, it's maybe a chance to blood some players and see how they go, because they're not as much of a threat. But I also get your point as well that they might play against the Eels, do it pretty easily, which I don't think there's any such thing as an easy game. But that's the mindset, I think. And then you play against the Sharks and it turns out it was a bad idea. I know what you mean. I can see your point. Leave the back line as is. I think Hayward Mann will be named at 6, but wouldn't be surprised Serrato's Hutchison named on the extended bench. Could be the way, mate. He might do something like that. He usually does. G'day, Blaze. We would put 100 on Para next week if Kikau and Burton were playing. I think we definitely be able to run up a score on them, but as I said, I don't take anything for granted. Coach just said Critter has playing 6 in case any halos go down. I think they will bring out any halves go down. I think they will bring outside back in. Yeah, they might bring in Luke Smith as he's in the top 30. Oh, no, he's not. He's training trial. Halves, fat fingers. Me too, brother. Eels look like if you just run shape at their edge, you'll tear them apart. Yeah, well, I expect him to bounce back. There's always the bounce back at some point. But, yeah, they've conceded more points than any other side in the first 2 rounds in 20 years. 88 points. Double what we've conceded. I don't worry about them. I'm worried about Sharks putting 30 on us. Yeah, well, that might happen too, mate. As long as they don't put 50 on you, you can still win the comp. Salmon's a strong gutted dog, I reckon. G'day, Scotty. We can definitely improve. 2 from 2, says Dave. King was a beast, really set the tone. Damo, 100%. King was my man of the match, and that's why I've got him there. I've got Tino on the picture looking like a forlorn figure. Tiger Lala, welcome. Blake Taff for 5'8". Had a blinder in New South Wales Cup today. G'day, D. I don't think he's the answer, but if Hutcho is in the halves next week, I'll be supporting 100%. He's there to provide backup, my friend. Can you watch the New South Wales Cup game today? No, we can't. There's nowhere you can watch it, even on the streaming service. You nailed it, Reece Stephen Crichton, loving him smash blokes and lying all over them whilst looking at the referee, asking how long he can lay on the floor. Dylan Brown was absolutely atrocious today. He was, my friend. He was. So let's look at some stats. Oh, shit, I better change that. All right, let's look at some stats, guys. 40-24, 7 tries to 4. Montoya in the first minute of the game. As we led 22-0 after how long? Not very long. Tries after half time. And honestly, I think putting Critter back to centre just made them go, oh, damn, we're not going to be able to run at that edge anymore. Which honestly believe that gets into their heads. And yeah, it's good to finish off too. And that offload to Wilson to run down the edge and pass inside for Tracy. You had a bit of work to do. Very, very happy with that. And 6 from 7 was a nice thing. We ended up only having 52% possession. So they definitely had the major share of possession in that second half. 33 from 45 is not good enough, but in that heat, you can forgive them. And the Titans definitely turned that. To think the Titans actually completely fixed up their errors in that second half to actually win the completion rate. And, we smashed them with run meters, which was good. And to get 614 post-contact meters, bloody brilliant for us. That's a good victory. 6 line breaks to 5. Not happy with that. More tackle breaks. Average set distance a little bit bigger. Kick return meters. We definitely had the better kicking game. They play the ball speed very, very good. 13 offloads to 11. We started to actually offload a fair bit towards that second half. And move them around a bit and just made that a little bit harder, kept the ball for a little bit longer, which was a good thing to do. But there were a couple of balls there which I wish they didn't throw them. I think it cost us points, not just, and them getting points as well, you know what I mean? So there you go. Kicking meters. Forced and 100% kick defusal was fantastic. And they gave 6 bombs to our 0. 1 grubber in the back line. Missed tackles. We missed less than the Titans, which is a good thing. Very similar amount of tackles made by both sides. 5 penalties each, but 5 all doesn't matter. We had 2 on report. Reed Marnie and Tino both worked their asses off, as they always do. Tracy, 228 metres. Jamin Sabin, the most fantasy points in the match for the Bulldogs. I don't think you'll ever see that again. And look, I talk him up. I do, because he's there for a reason. Have we got the minutes played? We do. I want to have a look at Max King, 51 minutes. He also got 58 points. He had 19 runs, 175 metres, 85 post-contact. So it's 4.47 metres per run. Now, Max King used to make about 3 metres post-contact, and he's been doing he's been getting more post-contact metres, better line speed, and playing longer minutes. I now rate him in the top 10 props in the game. And we'll see if he can keep this sort of level up over 27 rounds and not get injured. But 19 runs, 175 metres. We had some good field position. Marcelo Montoya, 22 runs, 219 metres. 80 post contact, fantastic. 2 tackle breaks for Max King. 3.5 second play the ball, not bad. 1 offload. Made 28 tackles, 2 missed. An absolute phenomenal performance. And in my opinion, the man of the match. Played 24 minutes in the first half, 25 in the second half, which was very, very important. Kikau played 73 before getting injured. Kurt Mann played 33 minutes straight. Bailey played 40 minutes straight. Satilli had 30, then 6. Jamin played 40, then 20. Harry played 40. And Josh Curran played 40 as well. So very well split around the whole side. And very happy with that. And looking at the Titans forwards, actually, before I do that, when we look at meters made, Josh Curran, 13 hit-ups for 114. Satilli, 8 runs, 69 metres, were all good runs. Kurt had some nice little runs in there as well. Jacob didn't get much of the ball, but every time he did, he was hard to stop. Kikau, lots of runs today, which was fantastic. I felt Matty had more than 20 metres. I think they mustn't count it when he passes. Bronson Cherry, lots of metres. Blake Wilson, lots of metres. They all contributed in that back line. You know, Stephen Crichton only has 7 runs, but every run is very, very important. And he's there. So Cherry's doing the work this year. Crichton's there for when the time is needed, especially in attack. And that's how they play a lot of centres these days. Harry Hayes, 73 metres. Jamin Salmon, 78. Just a good all-round performance. Then you got the tackling. Critter made 15 tackles. So he worked a bit harder in defence. But I think he made more tackles when he come in and played 5'8". Toby, 24 tackles. Jacob Preston, 38 tackles. 5 missed. You know, Kurt did a good job. And there you go. Jamin Salmon, 33 tackles. Harry Hayes put on some hits today, I can tell you that much. He hit like an absolute dog. I loved it. Absolutely loved watching Harry Hayes tonight. Sarah said King's try saver we'll talk about for inspiration throughout the year. Yeah, look, there's already in the first couple of rounds, there's been some massive try-saving tackles from our boys. Harry Hayes made it a very important one on Val Holmes last week. We only need to beat Para by 1 point, but under no circumstance should we allow ourselves to be beaten by them, even with a couple out. Sorrell needs to lay down the law. I'm pretty sure that's going to be the intention. They're our absolute rival. We want to annihilate the Eels, not just beat them. We want to beat them at everything, in every contact. But it's these games, sometimes you can throw the form book out. There's been years there where Para were going really, really well, and we were playing like bustards, and you know, there was 6 points at the end of the game, or it was going down to the wire a lot. I remember we lost a lot of those games, but won a couple. You can't, and sometimes you just have a bad day, like it's sport. You know, it's not they're just going to keep trying to get better, and some days you don't have the day you want to have. That's not an excuse, it's just reality. And everyone has their day in the sun, but I think the Bulldogs are prepared and positioned to go out there and beat Parramatta. No matter who we put on that field. We've got the next man up mentality, and we've still got enough quality on that field and enough confidence starting 2-0 to go out there and put on a good score and keep them to very few. I think we can do that. And that's what I'll be expecting from the Bulldogs come next week. So there you go. And Harry is a beast. He's very much a beast. In other results, we lost in the Jersey Flegg, which was disappointing, against the Melbourne Storm, which Storm obviously getting better and better with their juniors. Will Afawalo, we did the Rising Star watch on, scored 2 tries in a losing effort by the boys in a high-scoring match. But yes, it wasn't good to lose Jersey Flegg. Juniors struggling a little bit this year. We've got a win in New South Wales Cup. I knew they'd be up for it today after last week. And I think over a season, that, even though there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing, as there always is, we've got so many kids to utilise. We lost Ron Massey Cup as well, but it wasn't too bad of a performance. Lost to Brothers. Not sure how good the Brothers are this year, but be good to see some results in all those grades. Just give all the kids some confidence and have them having that winning feeling coming up into first grade. But we will see. Michael is chasing Nathan Hindmarsh, asking if he wants to have a go. That was a night. Yeah, and then Hindmarsh was chasing Ennis for the rest of the game and wanted to bloody belt him. So there you go. Oh, pardon me. Been a big day. Finally got to clean up the yard after Cyclone Alfred, which was a big job. So, guys, we've got through a fair bit. Next week, I do predict that Hutchison will come into the side. I just think it makes the most sense. But we'll see what happens. If Critter might say, yep, put me a 5'8". But look, the team that started today, I've tried to tell people for a long time that, Daniel Suluka-Fafita and the bigger props, they've got a pecking order to it. And he didn't play today. He played New South Wales Cup. And who knows? He might have made a difference. He might have been a liability. You don't know. It might have been the exact same for us. But he'll get his opportunity. He'll definitely get his opportunity again. And with Kikau coming out, I would bring Suluka-Fafita into the starting lineup, put Curran on the bench and Satilli onto the edge. That's what I would do, but that's me. And I'd bring Drew Hutchison into 5'8" and keep everything else the same in that back line. If Montoya is out, suspension, I don't know whether to move Cherry out to the wing or Carraz comes in. That's another thing. If Carraz comes in, Wilson might be the one that drops out. And I felt that Wilson and Montoya have been quite good. Hard to split them. They were definitely in a winning team that had lots of good performances. I sort of went with the ones that didn't make too many mistakes. I expect the half to make a couple of mistakes, being touching the ball a lot, especially with Burton going off. Max King was definitely the man of the match. Toby Sexton had one of his best games at the Bulldogs. And you also have to rate Preston plays well every week. Both our wingers and our fullback were sensational today. And look, I like what Bronson Cherry did for a lot of the game. A couple of mistakes, though, put us under pressure. But, there wasn't a bad player out there, but when you got to select who are the best players, well, you don't have to, but I think there was 4 or 5 which stand above the rest. And it was a good return from the likes of Curran. I felt Tupanua had another good game. So, yes, Kurt, man, they were all good. Jamin Salmon, really good game. We could just keep talking about it, couldn't we? Timmy says, I'm confident the team will start the season with 3 wins. I'm confident as I can be, my friend. The thing that I like about Tiro is that I think he can get points across without being the yelling and screaming. Well, that's it, but I can tell you he's no softy. Cameron Serrato can show his displeasure when he needs to. Thank you, Elaine, and thanks again for the support. Can't wait to see the boys playing Harold Matson SG ball again next week, and the girls playing in Lisa Fiola and Tasha Gale. They had a break this week. My pleasure, Timmy. Thanks for joining, everyone. We've been going an hour. That's the review. Join, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff. It really helps. I hate saying that sort of stuff, but it actually does help. Spend a fair bit just on the streaming service and that. But look, I really enjoy speaking to you all. I enjoy being challenged with some of the comments as well. And, you know, and I love having a chat about rugby league. So I really appreciate it, guys. But it's all about the Bulldogs. It's all about everyone just having a chat, connecting, and creating a little community. If you haven't joined the All Things Bulldogs group, come join it. Not a place where people just go and just start talking smut about the players or anything like that. It's always got to be fair and constructive, because at the end of the day, everyone's got parents, everyone's got family, everyone's worked their ass off to live their dream, and you know they're all doing their best. And sometimes it just doesn't work out on the day, or days, or whatever it is. So always remember that. Be kind to our beloved Bulldogs, and you know, as it turns out, they're being pretty kind to us at the moment. And it won't be long before Serrato's at a 50-50 win rate and starts to get above that rate, which is when you can then start to say, well. But Eels this week, let's smash the Eels and have a good week, everyone. I'll do a preview of the Eels on Team Tuesday. And you know, and there'll be another player watch coming up, maybe on a youngster, maybe on someone who's there. We'll see. And maybe there'll be some NRL media watch coming up as well. As Scotty Wood says, go the Doggies. Thanks, everyone. 2-0. Bulldogs third on the ladder. Good start to the season.